right, you know, baby, we are live. We're back in action, attacking your speakers from the field to the bleachers. This is the Power 32 podcast. My name is Jason Fearman, a.k.a. the Sports Prophet, a.k.a. the Smart Guy, along with my smart-ass co-host, Mr. Kenny Culp. What's going on, brother?
How are you? How you been? How was your week?
Everything's good, man, and it's about to get better because we are joined today by a former first-round pick out of Alabama, Crimson Tide. We're going to have to talk a little bit about that. This man is a national champion, all right, All-American, first team, All-SEC. I mean, I can go on and on. Hell of a guy. And also, I mean, the AD of a great school down where he lived. I mean, there's so much on this man's resume. It's ridiculous. And he's got his podcast, Teague's Take, which has taken off and has been amazing. So, George, what a pleasure to have you here, brother.
Man, I appreciate you guys letting me come hang out with y'all for a little bit and just chill, talk a little football, and see what's up with you guys.
That's right, man.
We appreciate it. I told a bunch of people to sign up to your channel in the last week, so I hope some people joined. I know I did. So
yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. We've been having a really good time with that. Just showing film, talking. I know it's a lot of Bama content, but
yeah, so
I love showing film with the other teams. I think people really want to learn about football. It's one thing when we're just watching it, but when you actually try to learn what's really happening, it's kind of cool to be able to educate people on what football really is.
No doubt. Well said. I love those shows where they have the X's and O's breakdown and they talk about what kind of personnel they're in and why a team is pulling their offensive linemen to create distraction. I love those kind of things. So going into that is great. And doing it on a college level has got to be even more difficult because you got these guys coming in and out every single year. So it's got to be difficult if you're concentrating on Alabama a lot. Now, I know you got your Cowboys going on. I know you visited training camp this year. So before we get into the Cowboys, I do want to talk about Alabama. No more Nick Saban. Is that the reason why they're not number 1, 2, 3, 4 in the country right now? Or is it just other teams are getting better?
No, well, yes. So I'm going to go into that's part of the reason that the other teams are getting better with the NIL and the way people can really go get players financially. Now that you can pay them, I think it closes the gap between some. If you got enough money, you can make your team a whole lot better. So, the best example is not when you're comparing Georgia to Alabama or something like that. It's like when you see the TCUs and people like this that I know have invested money into collectives and trying to get that. And now they're a much better football team, right? It is going to be hard for DeBoer. Honestly, Alabama, when's the last national championship we won? It just seems like you won so many, but the last 3-4 years, it's been a struggle. We've been competing, but Nick Saban knew what was going on. He's looking at this. He is the GOAT, but when you put in what I just said with Kalen DeBoer and him having guys that he inherited, he's trying to do the right thing and not kick everybody off the team. And, he's trying to change the culture, which is so different. You got to expect that he's going to lose a couple. One, because he doesn't have his whole system in place. And two, you got teams that are catching up just because, they can pay for a lot of guys.
Makes sense. Go ahead, Kenny. That makes a lot of sense.
I obviously you take this very seriously, football. I could tell. You've earned all your accolades that you've earned. You definitely earned them. You didn't have to explain anything to anybody. And Jason and I have talked about it before. When you knocked T.O. off the star, neither one of us had a problem with that. That was that was a little bit much. It was a little bit much, and you did the greatest thing you could do. And I don't think anybody will ever forget that. That's pretty great. I don't have any crazy questions for you. I mean, I guess they are a little crazy because I do always have two questions for when I get to talk to somebody who actually played football in the NFL. What are you thinking about these injuries this year?
Well, this may shock you or whatnot. I think that injuries around the league are becoming a product of not working as hard as we used to work. I understand you're trying to worry about the safety of the player and all that, but you got, now they're limited time. You only get 20 hours of this, which includes film and weightlifting and all this. Man, we used to bust our butts. So you didn't have a whole lot of hamstring issues and soft tissue issues and stuff like that because you were able to work your butt off. So now, if you're not doing the extra for that, you just, the wide receiver Nico Collins from Houston, he's running down the field just wide open by himself. Oh, he pull up, and I'm not saying he wasn't in shape and in that kind of stuff. It's just that how much effort are you really giving in the offseason?
Well, here's another question. You guys have vet days on Wednesday? A vet day? Has that always been around, or is this a new thing?
Yeah, no, this is definitely new.
I figured it was new.
The two hardest days of practice were Wednesday and Thursday. You came in for Monday, it wasn't that hard. You were kind of just getting the game plan, getting set up, kind of finishing up everything you need for last week. Then you were off on Tuesday, but Wednesday and Thursday was like, oh, you getting it,
Yeah, I would think if anything, your first day, like Monday, is the worst day. I would think that's when you take it the easiest. But like middle of the week, you guys got to be on. You got to be rolling. You got to be gelling at that point, right?
No, Wednesday and Thursday are still the most two important days to me, and you do have a lot of guys with looking at injury reports and they're not practicing today, or yesterday, Wednesday, or something, and it's just like, come on, you're supposed to be working on all your run package or whatever the coach has at that point. You typically did one heavy day of run, one heavy day of pass, and then Friday you kind of put it all together. So
Right. Do you walk through exactly? We had Pat and Kevin Williams on, the brothers from, not real brothers, but, from Minnesota, and they were echoing your sentiment exactly. And they were talking about how, the preseason, nobody takes it seriously, and how the first couple of weeks of the regular season are actually the preseason. That's why you see people getting hurt, because they're not practicing as hard. They're not doing what you guys did. I mean, you guys even played through injury. But we have a question from the audience over here, Realism Sports Talk. What's up, brother? He says, what about not having all grass fields? Do you think that attributes to a lot of injuries?
Yeah, and first of all, I need to say I know exactly who this guy is. He's a big Notre Dame fan and a big Washington Commanders fan. So it's kind of cool to have him in here. Yeah, I play fantasy football with him all the time. I kick his butt every single
That's
week.
Awesome. That's incredible. That's good to know.
But anyway, having the grass versus the way turf is now. If you'd asked me this back in the day, that turf is terrible, dog. I mean, you used to peel your skin off all the way down to the white meat, and it hurt. You couldn't get in the shower. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you ever fell off a bike or something, and you skinned off that skin off your elbow right here, off your shoulder, or something, that stuff hurts.
Yeah, but basically concrete under there, right? Concrete with some carpet on top, basically.
Yeah. But the turf now is so much better. I'm a high school athletic director, as you mentioned before. But we have good turf out here. It's super hot, but as far as does it provide or make more injuries, I think it's the technology is a much better with that. I think it's going back to what we were talking about before. How are you actually training the small muscles around your knee or your shoulder or stuff of that nature? Because you see guys pop and just fall, but I don't notice always necessarily the turf if you're not doing enough plyometrics or jumps or whatever it is. You really got to work on that, and those guys are limited. And how many times, for real, fellas, how many times have y'all really seen these videos where running backs are they're running through cones and spinning around trash cans and all this other kind of stuff, and it look good, and you're like, okay, but they really ain't really working on the small pieces. They're just working on look good to try to get their TikTok video right.
Right, to look good.
Is that where coaching comes in your opinion? If players are a little bit out of line and they're trying to do their individual thing and like look good on the video, do you think that coaching is like I could see like a guy like Mike Tomlin, no nonsense man, like you ain't gonna do this stuff, like that whole Antonio Brown thing in the locker room, whatever, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever that is, like that stuff is out of character for a team like that. So does coaching come into that where you have to rally your troops and be like, all right, guys, we're a team. This is not an individual thing over here. We got to work on that small stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it harder because of the way people can move around, particularly in college, maybe a little bit less in the pros that everyone's working on their brand. You would have never seen everybody doing podcasts in the pros or being on TV every week with
Right.
something because it was a distraction. You know, is he
Exactly.
really watching enough film? Is he really doing enough stuff? So nowadays, I think it's a little bit more relaxed, and that hurts the product of the game in some cases because you're automatically going to assume that 2 hours that you're on a podcast, that means you didn't watch any extra film or you
Right.
didn't.
You could have been working towards getting better. Instead, you were entertaining yourself on gossip, is really what it is.
That's
Right.
right. So it does change it, and the coach does have to have enough strength and a system with his staff, particularly strength coach, since we were talking about that, of hey, we got to work on this. So I can talk to you about that specifically because I was a football coach and AD, and I'm sitting here talking about it now. Matter of fact, I can show you the doggone sheet. I got it right here. Y'all, it ain't gonna be real close. But so I pulled all of the injuries from our football team here in high school, and I'm looking at every one. I'm going, okay, 40% of our injuries on the football team are shoulder injuries and ankle injuries. So I'm going, well, why is that happening? What is it? Is it the turf? Is it the kid? Is it the way we're lifting? Is it something else? And you got to dissect that. And it's even more heightened when you get to that level of professionalism that you got to really find out what is this? Is the guy just being lazy? Or is it our weight room? Are they not hitting something? So you got to be real critical as a coach, is basically what I'm saying, of trying to figure out why you're receiving those injuries. And then how do I prevent it by giving them the tools so that, you know, that they don't pull a hamstring in the middle of the game.
And like you said, by building up the muscles around the major muscles, it's not just working the major muscles. And so here's a question for you. The Niners lost their strength and conditioning guy, like their top guy. Do you think that has anything to do with why they're getting hurt, or is this a league-wide issue now?
It's definitely league-wide. I mean, the Niners are unfortunate that they get, you know, hit with a couple wide receivers and their running back getting hurt. I ain't too sorry for him because of the
you're not trying to play George.
Nah, don't feel sorry.
at all.
We don't even feel sorry for the 49ers right now. Everybody's
but it does have a lot to do with that, I think. So I've sat in, full disclosure, right? I've had the opportunity to work with, from a coaching staff position, the Cleveland Browns, the Arizona Cardinals, the Minnesota Vikings a few years ago. And I got to watch all of that stuff of how they actually talk about stuff, the relationship between athletic trainers and weight room stuff. It had to be on point. The progression. Hey, he just tweaked his hamstring. This is what we got to do in the training room. And then we got to move it over to the strength coach or whatever. If they weren't aligned, somebody got to go. You know, and the coach has to make that decision. And so if you do have injuries like that, man, I gotta, you know, things that they're dealing with that maybe aren't freak accidents, you have to look and say, we're not training appropriately. I have no intel about whether or not that's what happened with their strength coach. But I do know that, as I just told you, that's why I'm looking. Now I got my strength coach in here going, hey, bro, you know, we got a lot of shoulders and ankles. What's going on? Show me the sheet. I need to see exactly what you guys are doing, what percentages you lifted, what kind of rotations you're doing, because it could be that element. And if it is, then I would have to ask them to depart or change the workout or something. So,
George, do you think diet has anything to do with it? The food we eat today, his processed foods and the stuff in the food, has anything to do with it? Like Tom Brady, he's big on that.
Yeah.
Is there mostly just exercise and stretching? And
I'm gonna go with laziness, brother. Because you got the food, and you know everything's laced with something.
Everything, exactly. Yeah. Unless you're picking it right off the tree, you're pretty bad. And even then, it's got pesticides all over it.
If you ain't running full speed constantly, you're gonna pull up. You know, when you try
you're gonna start to stiff up whenever you're not moving. That's why the shark is constantly moving around.
Well, that's why I look at a guy like Derrick Henry and how well he takes care of his body. And I know that he got that from like LeBron James, who, I mean, these guys spend millions of dollars to have trainers around them, you know, not just working out, but dieting
Nice.
personal chefs, all that stuff. I mean, it's great to have all that money. Not everybody can do that, obviously, but some people really take care of their bodies and do specific things like have pregame meals. And we got a question from Steve-O in the audience. Did you have any pregame meals or any pregame routine that you stuck to?
Good question.
Anything superstitious like that?
Absolutely, I did.
Yeah.
All the time. I knew how I needed to. It started the night before, actually, on what I need to eat. So the ones that you might be interested in that would be a little bit of different was on game day. I always need to have a Pepsi or a Mountain Dew.
All right.
Before the game, whatever. I don't know. That's just what it was. But I had a very specific routine. I need to get up. I got to have my for breakfast. So I was always going to eat a certain type of omelet. I was going to have that, and then once I got to the stadium, it was very meticulous. I had to take a hot shower. Then I need to go get in the cold ice tub. I need to get back in the shower again. Then I need to lay down. I would start with some rap music, some little bit of hype, just kind of getting the
focus a little bit. Focus.
All right. Then I'd start to put on my clothes and all this kind of stuff. And then I'd switch to something a little bit more calming, just to not, because you can go out there and you can be too hyped too fast. You got to remember the time of the game. And then, it was go time, after that. So I really kind of secluded myself. I didn't have a whole lot of chatter and talk with guys. Some people always want to talk to you. And
you were off to the side, got the
headphones
up.
No. I got to get locked in. I got this.
I like that. I like that.
And so I would do that. And then the other piece at halftime, I always had to have my chocolate. So I always had me a Hershey's with almonds bar at halftime because I would be starving by the time we eat, and you can't throw down a whole meal, but I needed a sugar rush.
I can't imagine how many calories you burn in a first half of a football game, man. I don't even know what that would be.
My wife felt for me just over the course of the week. She's like, you eat too damn much food. Just overall, because you did need that. I mean, by the time you actually, if you did your warm up correctly, I mean, you're sweating like crazy because it's again, you got to feel the turf, the grass. You got to make sure you got the right shoes on. You got to do all these things so you don't want to be slipping because one play. I mean, hell, you're going to be on ESPN or something, and
And you were a safety in the NFL, so you had to be in like peak condition. I mean, you're like the quarterback of the defense, basically. You were all over the field. So you had to be big, you had to be strong, you had to be in shape and all that. So pretty impressive.
And if people don't know, George started out as a cornerback, I believe.
I did.
Junior year, I believe, they moved you to safety. And then when you went to the NFL, you stayed at safety, right?
Kenny, look at Kenny doing his homework over here.
I had a few minutes today, and I spent it not on gossip YouTube. So,
I did. I needed to. I like playing both, and I was a corner. I love playing corner. It just so happened that I happened to be a better free safety because I got recruited as a corner to Alabama. I did, like you said, played some safety there, but then I got drafted as a corner.
Okay.
To Green Bay as a corner, and that's why I was playing. But our free safety just wasn't very good. I shouldn't say it that way. I think they thought
they had more confidence in you.
Yeah, there you go. Because he was a veteran. He was a veteran guy. I was just a lot faster and I was more rangy than him. And I actually got thrown in the game. So you're talking about the Vikings and stuff of that nature. So how it started, fourth game into the season, I wasn't starting at the time in any position. I played a lot of nickel and I was going, but we were playing the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. And, I'm, like I said, a backup. And the coordinator comes over to me in the middle of the game and he goes, "Hey, you're going in at free safety. Next series." I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "No, you're going in for free safety." I was like, man, I don't know if I know all the calls. He's like, "Just get in there and do what you got to do. Go play football. You got this. So I'm like, So we had this call that was called crazy, and this was actual hand signal. Crazy, crazy, crazy is one of the checks.
Yeah.
I think I called that damn thing like 8 plays in a row. And everybody, all the players are looking back, we're like, dude, we're not playing crazy every damn time. But that's how I felt because it was bad. So
Awesome.
Did you feel pressure being a first round pick coming out?
Oh, 100%. The expectations just are more, just because. Well, first of all, it's a draft pick, but then when you push into the first round, I think there's just this level of expectation that starts early. You're doing all the media stuff. It seems like they're critiquing you for every little thing, good or bad. He ain't got enough interceptions. He ain't got enough tackles. He ain't got enough something. What happened to the big play?
Yeah, I saw it with Ricky Pearsall, who we drafted, who didn't even take a snap yet, and we had talked about him. It seemed like for a year, and it was only a month before he got, a month after he got signed. I feel like we had talked about it forever.
Yeah,
what happened to him was crazy. I mean, the poor man got shot, and somebody was trying to steal his watch. I mean, it's unbelievable that he even lived. But
crazy how what the circumstances were just amazing. That he had no real injuries, that it went in, came out, and he's out there 4 weeks later on the field practicing. That's amazing.
God is good, baby. God is good. Who would you rather, George? Who would you rather have to get ready to play against, Mahomes or Lamar Jackson?
Whew.
Not an easy question.
Yeah, because
it's about pass deflections or tackles, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that's why I would say I would rather, and this may sound weird, that I would rather play Mahomes, not because I think he's easier to defend or play. It's more, I'm going to get more opportunities, I think, to get me an interception and take it to the house.
There you go. He's going to throw. He's going to throw it more.
He's going to throw the ball. So, yeah, you're right. Don't put Barry Sanders in that question. That's right. I don't want to. That is the ultimate person I don't want to be. But so selfishly, I say I'd rather have the interception over the big hit.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd rather deflect the ball or try to intercept it than smash into another human being at 30 miles an hour. If that's what you mean. So.
You're right, because your shoulder will feel like this one. Right about.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The shoulder injury is the most re-injured with the knee. The knee and the shoulder, I think, in the NFL, the most re-injury rates. And so when you get a shoulder injury, you got to be real careful. So,
yeah.
Oh man,
did you a lot of pain management for you, or did you have stretches of the pain?
No, I would say the most guys are really good with the pain management from the standpoint of, what do you do on that off day, that Monday and Tuesday? How are you putting yourself back together? I think everybody misses that part of the game. After Sunday, after you kept having these train wrecks, over and over and over again, you got to get yourself back ready before Wednesday, like we were saying. Maybe they're going slower now. Maybe that's why they're having that extra day. But we had to be ready to go on Wednesday. So Monday and Tuesday, you're trying to figure every ice tub, ice bath, stretch, yoga, massages.
You ever try acupuncture? Anybody, do they do that in the locker room, or that's not included in there?
Yeah. Well, now they got every damn thing in the locker room. In my day, they did. No, seriously. Now they have psychology.
I would think some players would demand it. Actually.
Yeah, it's all part of it. So they basically could get anything they want to do at the facility nowadays. But yes, I did try acupuncture. I love that. I was doing hypnosis, just trying to get mental stuff right, clear out stuff. I was taking taekwondo classes, trying to make sure I was getting flexible, staying flexible, extra swimming, we're trying to get those smaller things. And it's just stuff where you could have low impact, but, put yourself back there, because once Wednesday, and particularly back in the day, you could hit more in practice too. You didn't hit a lot on Wednesday, but Thursday was like rock'em sock'em. If you played for Jimmy Johnson, it was Thursday and Friday. He didn't give a shit. So
little man, tough coach though, right? Little man, tough coach. That's how it goes. We got maybe one or two more from the audience over here. How important is it for a coach to take accountability after a loss, and does it do anything for the players just to make them feel better? So, how important is it for a coach to basically take the brunt of it, or do you put that on the quarterback more?
I think it's really important for the coach to take on this as much as possible. Players play games, players win games. I got that. I'm not trying to refute that. But what a head coach says about it, because there are situational things, and players at that level know when a coach might have messed up or had you in a bad position. They're intelligent, from the position of football, like, man, there's no way we should have ever been in that call, or that person should not have been blitzing, and you have those conversations as players on the side. And so if a coach will come into the locker room, whether he says it on TV or not, but at least address to the players, like, you know what, I should have helped you guys out a little bit more. There were these 3 plays I wish I could have got back, whatever.
I wanted to ask real quick, just if you get somebody in your face, you ever have a kid get in your face or something like that? I feel like I'm seeing that more in the NFL now. Players are yelling at their coaches on live TV. I'm seeing it more. Is that something that you encounter?
I don't like it. We have. So to answer your question is, yes, I've had people face to face. It was never on the field for everybody to see. What we've always talked about, what happens in the locker rooms needs to stay in the locker room. So if we're going to go at it, let's go at it in here, and then we're going to go out there and be united afterwards, because we're brothers, just like family. No difference if all of us were biological brothers.
Right.
We can throw the ball at each other and maybe fight and do whatever we want to do. But, if someone else tries to come in our house, all 3 of us are going to whoop his ass.
Yeah.
You don't get to come in here and do that.
And you showed that. And you showed that, obviously. And before I want to pick some games of you, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but going into that, we've talked about Terell Owens and the star and everything, and how you came out of nowhere on the TV and he flew off the TV. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, again, I remember I was in a bar and I'm watching the game with my friends, and 49ers were kicking your guys' ass that game, let it be known. But when that happened, I got out of my seat and I freaking clapped for you, bro. I was so happy because, number one, I'm not a big fan of T.O. As great as he was as a player, I'm not a big fan of him. But for him to be so disrespectful and do that was not, I'm guessing, not shocking for him. But my question to you is, you saw him do it the first time. That must have aggravated the hell out of you. The second time, it's like you just bolted, you snapped, and that was it. What went through your head at that moment?
Yeah, well, first I need to say, if you were so happy about that, and you're really feeling for me doing that, I had a $25,000 fine. I got a donation bucket if you want to drop $5 in it, $10 in it.
Hey,
I'm still trying to get that
I'd
back.
be happy
up
to.
the cash lap.
Yeah.
Cash.
Let me
put my Venmo up here so everybody can go ahead and give me some of that back.
You shouldn't get fined for that in your stadium, is what I think.
Well, the problem is it was an ejection, so there's no really.
Oh, so there's no discussion. It's like part of the.
You got kicked out, so
Yeah.
But anyway, in that moment when I went to go hit Terell, it was one thing, and you kind of look and you kind of go like, wait a minute. And yes, we'd had a lot of banter going on during the game. Like you said, when you're losing, no one likes to lose. Darren Woodson had already got kicked out. People forget that, so I was kind of out there, not by myself, but kind of felt like my other twin safety was kind of gone, and we're still getting our butts handed, and your buddy is chirping and going on. And so it was like right before he scored, I knew he was going to score, by the way, on that play. It was, 3rd and 1 or whatever it was on the goal line. And he was on the opposite side. And I was like, he was lined up against a rookie. I was like, I know he's going to throw the ball, and he's going to score. So I was really just kind of watching like, okay, what is this dude really going to do? And sure enough, they throw the fade over there to him. He catches it real easy. And then I'm literally like watching him. And then that's when I saw him. I was like,
I kind of agree with Steve over here. Jerry should have covered the fine, or whoever is in charge should have paid that for you and been proud of you.
Man, don't you know Jerry Jones by now?
I got it this year. This year I finally got it. Spent a single dollar in the offseason.
That's how billionaires stay billionaires, man.
Yeah, if my name wasn't Emmett, Troy, or Michael.
Yeah, all right.
Funny, Steve. That's nice.
I love it. That's great. That's great. George, you got a few minutes? You want to pick some games with us?
Yeah, come on. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk about tonight's game real quick. The Vikings go to the Rams. The Rams are getting a few guys back. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua coming back. And the Vikings haven't been that great against the run. They got Kyron Williams. So I think this game is a little more even than people think. I mean, I give the Rams a chance. What do you think?
Yes, I do think it'll be a little bit more competitive, but I still think even with if they got Nacua playing tonight, is he supposed to play tonight?
He might.
Yeah,
They said he might play, but Cooper Kupp is definitely playing.
Yeah, so I still think the Vikings defense is still strong enough and in a much better position than it has been. Justin Jefferson is still the man, and running backs they got. So I still think it's a little bit too much for them. And I think with the loss that the Vikings just took, that they feel like they need to have a little bit of bounce back. I feel like so. I think they're going to be energized and I'm taking the Vikings over
the Vikings. Well,
Yeah,
right.
I'm also on the Vikings train for the same reason. The loss last week, I think they were riding real high, and they don't want to go back down there, man. They don't want to go back to where they've been the last however many years, and they're going to want to win this game real bad. And the Rams, even though Cooper's back today, when someone comes back for the first day, usually they don't have a great game. It's very rare. So even with Cooper, I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, the question with Sam Darnold is he going to turn back into a pumpkin, or is he going to ride this out all year, kind of thing. So I don't know. That remains to be seen. He didn't have the greatest game last week, but Detroit is a real good team. Realism likes the Rams. I'm going with the upset, guys. I'm going to take the Rams in this game. I just got this weird feeling Thursday night home. It's hard for the away team to come in and win. So I don't know. I'm going to take a little leap, and I'm going to go with the upset over here. Might even put a couple of
Not
bucks.
that crazy. Not
Okay.
that.
All right.
Could be a close one, but this next game probably won't be a close one. Ravens at Browns. Now, the Ravens are doing stuff, George, that did not happen in your day, obviously, with this RPO sort of stuff. And it seems completely lethal what Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are doing right now. I don't know how you stop this. I really don't. They put up 41 against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. I feel like they can score 40 points whenever they want.
This is going to be a blowout. There's too much going on with the Browns. And like you said, just the running back situation, that tandem. Justice Hill is coming in being a spark for him as well. Yeah. You got, Flowers. They just got too much going on. It just Ravens, man, everybody.
Right. Save ourselves some time, Kenny, right? We're all going to stick on the Ravens on this one, I'm sure.
Much as I like Jameis Winston, I can't pick the Browns.
Yeah, you can't make a little W or whatever.
Right, exactly. My fingers can do that.
Yeah.
I saw it this morning.
But try to do a Vulcan neck grip or something like that. All right. So we're all on Baltimore. That's a pretty easy one, we think. Maybe the lock of the week. Titans at Lions, another one where this one could be a blowout. Kenny, I'll go to you first on this one after I give my pick. I think the Lions destroy
take the
Lions
for sure.
Mason Rudolph, whatever. I don't care who's quarterback of that team. Will Levis, it doesn't make a difference. The Lions are for real this year. I got them big 38-18, and I'm definitely putting some money on them.
Yeah, Lions easily for me too.
There's a lot of games like this week, so we'll see how the gambling apps do this week. See just how many upsets we're gonna see.
Yeah. Well, that always happens. That's the thing. That's why I'm like maybe the Rams will be an upset. I have no idea, but I don't know if there's going to be an upset even in this next game that we're going to pick. The Colts and the Texans. The Texans are home. They're clearly better. And George, like Anthony Richardson's got talent like crazy, but it's not honed in. He's not being coached right. What is it with this guy? Because it seems like the sky's the limit for him, but it's not coming together.
He's kind of acting like what we're seeing in Alabama with Jalen Milroe. I think he's very talented, overall. Yeah, can he throw it and all that kind of stuff? I don't know if he can see and make the reads and process it fast enough now. He still hasn't played enough yet. And particularly because of that, I think the quarterback play is so much better with the Houston Texans that I'm going to roll with them because their running game is good. No, they don't have Nico, but I think they're a better football team than I think Texans.
We got Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. I mean, Joe Mixon running the ball has been underrated all year, no doubt about it. So I'm going with him. I'm with Houston also, Kenny.
Also taking the Texans, they have weapons they don't even use. I mean, they're just set up. So
They're that good. They're that good. All right, David McKnight is on the Texans also. Richardson needs playing time. I agree. He's pretty raw, and that's the way I kind of felt about Josh Allen when he came out. I'm like, this dude's got all the gifts in the world, but he's raw right now. But once he got Brian Dable to coach him, he's put together. So I don't know if Shane Steichen is the right guy in Indy. We'll see. But this guy is way too talented to not play in the NFL. So see if he can get it together. Anyway, our next game, we got a former team over here for Mr. Teague. The Packers are visiting the Jaguars, who are not in London finally. They get to go home for a change. So we got Green Bay on the road, and Jordan Love has been living it up to the hype for the most part. He's thrown a few picks over here, which I don't really like. I got him as my quarterback on my fantasy team. But the Packers looking pretty good, and they got that win over the Texans last week, which was impressive in the last couple of minutes.
Yes. So go Pack go. To not tease you too much about that, and I think that's who's actually going to win the game. Defense is better than most people think. Jordan Love is really good. I think that maybe he had some mistakes and all that, but once he gets settled in and really feels the rhythm of the game, he's a hard one to stop. And they got a lot of passing weapons. I think Reed, the little wide receiver, is going to play with the others. So
he's real good. I mean,
Jalen Reed, Dante Wicks, Romeo Dobbs are all over there, right?
Christian Watson, when he gets
Christian
back,
Watson's
back. Good tight ends and Tucker Kraft. And George is right about the defense. That doesn't get talked about enough. And in today's NFL, defense is so important. That's another reason Kansas City Chiefs will get to, but they would not be undefeated without their defense right now. There's no question about it.
Yeah, very good defense in Green Bay for sure.
Well, I'm on Green Bay also in this game. Kenny, how about you?
I told you Jags would come in last place this year, and I'm still hoping that happens. I don't know how they've won 2 games, so I got to go with the Packers.
Yeah, they've been a disappointment, Jaguars. Wow, real disappointment. All right, next game, we got Cardinals to Dolphins, so Tua's coming back. Damn, George, I don't know how you feel about this one because I know you got some ties to Miami too. We all just feel for this guy. We saw it again, his hands, cramped up. We're like, oh my God, not Cincinnati again from a couple of years ago, but here he comes. He wants to play, and he's even said that basically he's willing to die on the football field. God bless the man. I really like him as a person and as a player, but it's rough to see. And anytime this guy gets hit, you're cringing.
Yep, it is. And I feel for my Alabama alumni guy, and I know he has to make decisions on how he wants to play or what he wants to do. I just hope that he has enough counsel around him to make sure he's making the right decision for his brain, because I don't think he's probably been around some of us older guys who are dealing with things from the game. And when you see that with your own eyes, you're like, hey, that guy is not healthy, and he's 50 years old or 45 years old and he can't talk as well or move around. It's
Great
scary,
point.
So when you're young, you just think you're invincible, and go to doesn't catch up to you till you're, a little bit older after the game. So, but in saying that, I think he could be a spark just because there's been no action with Jaden Waddle, no action with Tyreek Hill. I think it opens up the running game. I think at least early, because he's going to be they're at least going to call plays and make him throw the ball a little bit faster. I see a bunch of tunnel screens, RPOs, a lot of running game that it's going to be enough for Tyreek Hill and those guys just to have fun and have a field day and pull out the win over the Cards.
I echo everything you said right there, and especially the fact that Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle are going to feel like they're back in the game and that they're actually going to get targets and catch the ball, because I don't know what was happening, but Mike McDaniels maybe showed that he's not such a great coach after all. But I'm still taking Miami talent-wise. I don't love Arizona coming all the way cross-country to Miami, so I'm going with Miami, Kenny.
Yeah, I agree. It's the trip across the country, playing that early game, I think is going to be a problem. And then with Tua back, the locker room's going to be pumped. Waddle and Reek are going to be thinking, oh, happy day. We're finally going to get a catch. And like you said, it's going to open up the running game with Achane and Mostert, I think, is back healthy. I mean, sounds good to me. So I'm putting it on the defense stopping Connor. That's what I'm going to say is what it comes down to probably.
Connor's, real quick, George, I think that he's one of the most underrated players flat out, not just running backs. He is so underrated, this guy, what he does. He went from Pittsburgh to Arizona, and it's almost like he got lost because it's Arizona. But man, this dude can play.
He's not flashy. Yeah, that's it. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He's not causing a little stir. But you don't have a whole lot of bell cows, and he is the bell cow that they run through him. And I agree with you. I think he's very undervalued. But I picked him on several of my fantasy football teams.
He's so good. He's so good that Trey Benson hasn't even been able to play.
Right.
And he's very good. So
There
like,
you know. No, yeah, dude's for real. All right, our next one. This game sucks. Jets at Patriots. I mean, I don't even want to watch it. I don't even want to talk about it. But the Jets have to win this game. So look, I don't even know what to say. Maybe Drake May just goes out and they put up 28 points against his defense. I have no idea. It's going to be ugly, but I know the Jets have to win. So I'm going to pick them, George. They have to win.
I'm taking the Jets too because I think Devontae Adams is going to get targeted probably about 20 times. Brees Hall is going to get loose, and it is must win. Otherwise, that whole building is going to blow up if they can't beat the Patriots. So
that's it.
Yeah.
They got to
Devontae was sitting out for a few weeks, and he was a little rusty, I think. Last week, he barely had any yards, maybe 50, 60 yards, no touchdowns.
Do you think his hamstring was really hurt?
No.
Hell no.
No, he wasn't.
Me.
He was chilling, waiting to be traded. That's all. He's like, just get my ass out of here.
He was kind of. I feel like he was, taking it easy while he could. And that first game back wasn't great, and they weren't able to practice too much and get on the same page. And I think that they will be this week. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jets. Even though I do like the Patriots, I hope I want nothing but the best for Drake May. I thought he's had 2 very good games already. So.
Yeah, it's easy to score points when the defense isn't playing too much like Jackson.
Yeah, a lot of garbage time yards and stuff. But I just hope he does well there. They could use a good quarterback.
They
could before. I'm just kidding.
Well, I think the Falcons drafted themselves a good quarterback. He's not playing yet, Michael Penix, but Kirk Cousins is, and they're on the road in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is busted up right now, man. No Mike Evans, no Godwin. Their backfield got a little bit more healthy. Rashad White, Bucky Irving, and this other kid, I forgot his name, Sean
Tucker, thank you. Yes. He showed up big time. I'm like, damn, this kid can run. So, I mean, they can run the ball. They can play some defense, but I don't know. I'm thinking Atlanta on the road might win this one this week because I like the way that Drake London's been playing.
Yeah, I got the Falcons. I think they're you're talking about the 2 injuries now. I did not look at the report for the Bucs if both those receivers are down. Evans and Godwin.
Yep, both out.
They got too many weapons. You just talked about it with the Robinson, the Falcons. I'm talking about. I think
Bijan and Drake
make his the great plays that he can do. I think he had enough of that last week that he bounces back and the Falcons win.
Even though I will say, I think it was kind of a joke, in my opinion, that Kirk Cousins would be the savior of the Atlanta Falcons. I thought that was just laughable to begin with. I'm like, come on, this guy's won 1 playoff game. I mean, I know he's the king of getting contracts, but give me a freaking break. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Penix in there next year already.
We talked about they should have just rolled with Penix. I think it would have been the same scenario. I think that they're in now. I don't know. I mean, they lost the first game to the Bucs, didn't they?
Yeah.
You can't give the guy $35 million though and not play him.
No,
I wouldn't have signed him. I wouldn't even sign him. But I don't know. But it was a good insurance plan. And these days, with what you've been seeing with quarterbacks going down and the backup being no good, Miami, you really got to back yourself up. So Pittsburgh, same thing with Justin and Russ. So it's a good idea. It's going to cost you though.
It's cheap.
That was those were good moves.
Yeah,
cheap is good. Monty, shut up. My dog is barking. Got to quiet it down. You going with ATL also? Ken?
I'm going to go with Atlanta. Yeah, even though they always play a good game. Those two, they always play a good game against each
Divisional
other.
Games, man.
But there's just not enough power on the Bucs side this week. And I love all the running backs, but you can't run the ball with 3 different running backs the entire game. You got to throw it.
Yep.
And I don't think they have the wide receivers to break the coverage and go and get the touchdowns that they need to win this game. So.
Yeah, plus you're dealing with 2 top-end safeties and Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons over there. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. George knows all about that. By the way, real quick, who do you think is top 1, 2 safeties in the game right now?
Oh, I'll answer that as we pick. Let me think through.
All right. Because I got a couple.
I feel
My guy's Kyle Hamilton.
That's my guy. That's
He's
my
really
guy.
good. He's really good. He's really good.
And young.
Who? You said
Pat-
young.
Kyle's not that young in NFL?
He is
okay,
young. He is young, age-wise.
Okay.
All right, so this next matchup, Eagles and Bengals, I thought both of these teams would have been better by now, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on in either organization. Maybe coaching stuff in Philly, obviously, but maybe they got that together. Saquon had a really big game against the Giants last week, yada, yada. The Bengals, I don't know what to make of them this year, but George, I thought both of these teams would have been a lot better, and right now it's really hard for me to pick this game because I don't know what either of these teams are. I don't see an identity yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And I'm looking at this like this is an ugly game too. But then my Cowboy side kicked in and said, "Damn the Eagles," regardless. But I think I'm kind of baffled on what's going on with Burrow and Chase and Higgins on how they can't really connect and make more big plays. So I do think that they find a way to kind of get this done now. Because I think the Eagles secondary can be exposed with the right people, and I think they figure it out. I'm going with the Bengals this game.
Yeah, they got a young secondary too. That's true. Kenny, what do you think? Bengals or Eagles on the road?
Quick question: do you guys know, are they 5-2? The Eagles? Is that their record right now? 5-2, or is it worse?
Yeah, 4-3. I got to look it up.
4-3. I like the Bengals in this game. I think that finally Burrows, Higgins, and Chase are going to have a day.
Eagles are 4-2, so they must have had a bye. Bengals are 3-4.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 4-2. That's
yeah,
right.
I think the Bengals in this one for some reason, only because I feel like people are blowing it sometimes. So that's really the only reason.
Okay.
By the way, so we got Realism chiming over here. He likes Kyle Hamilton. It's definitely a Notre Dame alumni, Kyle Hamilton. Or Harrison Smith has been good for a real long time. I mean, he's a little bit older now, but yeah, that man has definitely been a really good safety in the NFL for a while. Realism.
He has, man. Y'all still don't like Mika Fitzpatrick?
I love him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
I would have taken him on the Niners in a second. I think we wanted him when we were thinking about the Ayuk trade. His name was always mentioned, and they were like, "Nah, not gonna happen."
Oh, man, real quick because we only got a couple games left. George, I have to say this, man. I did not. Money, shut up. My dog won't stop barking. Look, Brandon Ayuk, awesome receiver, but $30 million, and now he's out. Just all in all, paying wide receivers all this money, I think, is such a detriment to the team because, to me, you'd be better off spending on the defensive line, defensive backs, in my opinion, offensive line.
Right tackle,
yeah. Taking such a big chunk out of these teams' salary cap for wide receivers when history shows that wide receivers do not win you championships when you pay them a lot of money to come over. I mean, Tyreek Hill won at Kansas City, but now he went to Miami and they ain't won no playoff game. So what does it matter?
I agree with you. I mean, I wish there could be a different strategy on just what's the real value of a position. Just because you score touchdowns doesn't mean you're the most valuable position on there, particularly when you're talking about linemen. Because as a defensive back, I knew if our defensive line was terrible, that was going to make my game harder. But the same way with I know we had talked about CeeDee Lamb and those guys, but if you give this guy $30-something million, now you can't go six catches for 55 yards or something like that. Like, nah, bro, that ain't what we're doing here. Yeah. Is it the quarterback fault? Is it somebody else's? I don't know, but you better not drop the ball.
That's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing. The drops.
By the way, Kenny, did you take Cincy or Philly? I forgot.
I'm going to go with the Bengals. I don't know if that's an upset necessarily, but I like the Bengals in this one. I just feel like the Eagles are known to blow it, and this is one of those games.
I like the Bengals too. I'm hoping T. Higgins has a big day. I got him on my fantasy team, so I'm hoping that works out. So I'm kind of thinking the same thing.
Possible.
Yep.
Next game is going to be kind of dull, in my opinion. I mean, if you like defense, then watch the Chargers host the Saints.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the Saints are getting some guys back. I think Shaheed and Olave are practicing, but Spencer Rattler is still the quarterback, and jury's out on him, obviously. But LA's playing good defense. However, George, they lost to Arizona on Monday Night Football, and that's not such a really good look. And they're having a tough time scoring points.
That's because they can't throw the ball. Everybody loading the box and you reeling in J.K. Dobbins, and then now you're in a defensive battle. I do love their defense, the Chargers defense.
Yeah.
So I think they still keep it down low, just because of the quarterback play with the Saints right now. No matter who they get back, I think with it. So I'm going to take the Chargers in a very low scoring, tight one. Chargers by 2. I don't even know what the line is, but something where it's very low scoring.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at the under in that game, Kenny. I'm taking the Chargers also based on defense mainly and the fact that they can run the ball. We'll see how much they stack the box, the Saints, but they need to pass better. George is right about that.
Yeah, even with the guys even if both wide receivers return, I just don't think Rattler is on page with them right now, and especially against the Chargers D, who I've had on my fantasy team all year, and so I know they don't give up a lot of points, and they're good for about 1 interception a game, and that's a fact. That's that's the rate that they're doing, and they get their sacks, and they have forced fumbles, and they're a good defense, and Harbaugh's got them working hard and keeping them in games, and I think that they actually pull this one off. The last one, I'm actually disappointed they lost, but with Kyler, you just never know. He's like a spark plug, so he could do something by himself to change the whole game.
Great athlete.
I'm just going to chalk that one up to Kyler being Kyler.
All right. Let's get through our next few games a little bit quicker because George has got a million things to do. He's AD. He's got to get to the game. He's got to take care of stuff. So Bills Seahawks real quick. I actually see an upset over here. Bills got to fly all the way to Washington. Seattle's underrated. They're healthy. I mean, the defense, the secondary could be a little bit better, but George, I think the Seahawks are going to pull this one out and upset the Bills.
I'm going opposite of you. I'm taking the Bills.
You got Bills? All right.
Yeah, I got them.
Yeah, I'm also going Bills, and I'll tell you why, because Josh Allen isn't throwing his usual interceptions and forcing a million fumbles like he usually does. And they're looking good. Keon Coleman, Shakir, they just got Cooper, they got Davis, and they got Cook, and it's nice. I mean, the D is probably the worst part about them right now, but I don't think they're doing so badly. They did lose somebody, what's his name, for a suspension. I can't remember his name right now. Von Miller?
Oh, Von Miller.
Yes.
Which isn't going to help, but I just think, again, this is like Josh Allen. Josh Allen can do this shit by himself, if you ask me. Excuse me for cursing, but I'm going to go with Josh. I'm just going to go with Josh Allen.
All right, fair enough.
I'm taking the Buffalo Josh Allens. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm the Lone Ranger on that one. All right, Bears Commanders. This was supposed to be Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels, George, but it doesn't look like Daniels is going to play, which sucks because he is clearly the offensive player of the year right now. The kid is amazing. Man, love what he's doing. So it's unfortunate, but Marcus Mariota did a good job, albeit against the Carolina Panthers last week. They still put up 40-some-odd points, but Commanders hosting the Bears. Who do you like?
Despite realism, give me the Bears. Got dog. Jaden Daniels in there. If they had Jaden Daniels, we would see.
I didn't think you'd be a Jaden Daniels fan. I didn't think you'd be a Jaden Daniels fan.
No, I love Jaden Daniels.
Oh, okay.
He gave Alabama fits when he was,
sure did.
Yeah,
and I got to watch him play. The dude is really, really good.
I had the foresight to choose Jalen, my starting quarterback this year in fantasy. I'm very proud of that. I still think he has a chance to play. I just wouldn't play him. As much as this would be such a great matchup, and I think everyone's been waiting for this, and everyone wants to see it. If it means that he's going to hurt himself worse, I'd just sit him and not do it. But I don't even think if Jaden tells me he wants to play that I would play him. I just don't think it's that important. And so I would sit him. Mariota had a perfect passer rating against the Niners a few years ago. So, and you saw him play last week. He looked just fine. So I'm going to go with the Bears.
Yeah. All right.
But I like some Washington. I just want everybody to know I like Washington.
I'm going to go against you guys again. The Commanders look like a different team this year. They look like they're really put together, coached. Maybe, again, Rivera's out. Dan Quinn is in. I don't know. Things look a little different over there. I don't think it's all about Daniels, even though he is the biggest part of it.
Great coaching.
What's up?
Great coaching staff, like you point out.
Yeah, man. Without a doubt. Things are different over there. New culture, however you want to call it. This next game, not interesting at all. Panthers at Broncos. I don't see how the Panthers win this game. Bryce Young is coming back in because Andy Dalton is hurt. What a joke. But Bo Nix and Sean Payton is starting to kind of cook over there a little bit. I like Denver at home.
Me too. They started scoring a little bit of points. I was glad to see that they're actually trying to figure out something.
Yeah.
Offensively, the Broncos. Panthers, I feel sorry for my other Bama guy. because I think he's going to come in because that Broncos defense is pretty good, and they're going to call some fits for Bryce Young. I think he throws another 2 or 3, and their fan base goes crazy. And
I feel bad for your boy, man. I do.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
He's a good kid. I feel bad for him. I really do. Kenny, is it a trifecta over here? You taking Denver?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bo Nix, dude. So I like him. I was talking about the yelling at the coaches. He was one of the guys who was yelling in Peyton's face, and then when they were interviewed about it, they were like, "Oh, we were just saying that we love each other." They didn't want to discuss anything about it.
Got to read lips.
But I like the passion, though, and I like how he plays. And I think, honestly, he's going to be ahead in this game, and he may not even throw the ball very much. It might be a Javonte Williams day, like all day, just a lot of running from Denver, I think. So.
Yeah, it might be a real quick game, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. We'll see.
Yeah,
all right, we got a couple more. Let's do Chiefs and Raiders, which is the last game on the 4 o'clock slot. Kansas City should stay undefeated over here, George. I'm not even.
Yes.
Yeah.
Easy
Chiefs.
one right there.
Chiefs.
All right, now the next one we're going to spend a couple of minutes on real quick because it is the Cowboys and Niners Sunday Night Football. So we mentioned real quick, Debo had pneumonia, so hopefully he's coming back. He's practicing a little bit. No more Ayuk. Kittle has got a foot injury. Not sure if he's playing. Jordan Mason's a little banged up. And Dallas, it's like Dak and CD or nothing because, George, there's no running game to speak of over there. So, and another thing, Micah Parsons, I don't think is going to play. He hasn't practiced the past couple of days. So both teams are really kind of down and out over here, both injury-wise and record-wise. It don't look good.
It makes for a very tough one. The Cowboys will need their playmakers to step up on offense, those two that you speak. I don't see there's any way that the Cowboys can run the ball on them, so they're going to have to get creative and try to exploit the secondary or, the areas of the field that where we can maybe move the ball some. Defensively, I don't know if Bland is coming back or whatnot, but not having Ayuk is good for the Cowboys in that sense that they're not having to try to deal with both of those guys. So I feel like that it's going to be a closer game than maybe some think, particularly because of the injuries. Cowboys are going to struggle trying to stop the pass rush of the 49ers. I'm still taking my Cowboys, dog. We're going up there on the road because we play better on the road. When you guys come down here, y'all whoop our tails. I think we got to return the favor.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, he's going to say one how or another. He's going to say Dallas one way or another. Yeah, I'm trying to be as objective as possible because I know that Dallas got a really good chance in this game. I know they do. Look, they're 3-3, Niners 3-4. I think they're both could be better than their record. Steve-O thinks that San Fran's going to win 27-20. Look, I'm going with San Fran because they're my team. I'm not that confident about it, George. I'm not going to lie because I don't know. And this is for another time if Brock Purdy is our guy. I really, really don't.
Right. I understand that.
I like the Niners, and only because, like you mentioned, I mean, they haven't been able to get the run game going in Dallas, and that's a problem. Not having Micah Parsons there is going to be a problem. That'd be nice to have because if you can pressure Purdy, that's always a good thing. Even though his numbers last year made him better when he was pressured, but this year not so much. Also, I want to mention one guy on Dallas that wasn't talked about, which is Ferguson, who I really like, the tight end. Is that Jake Ferguson? He's like the second leading reception leader on the team, I believe. So it's probably just him, CD, and Dak, but they can make miracles happen. And Dowdle and Zeke are amazing, but our team is like bad news Bears right now. So I just know what's going to happen. So I am going to take the Niners, but like I said, we're like bad news Bears right now, and we could lose that game. So
whoever has the most explosive plays on offense wins.
Yeah, there you go. And somehow I feel like CD Lamb is the most explosive player, on the field in this game. No CMC. So
and Dak may be the better quarterback. I mean, it all depends.
No, not maybe. Dak is a better quarterback.
Okay. I agree. I'm just saying I don't know. Some people, they don't think that. So.
David McNider brings out a good point. You do have another good defensive lineman, in Lawrence, Demarcus Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is on the Giants. I always confuse that. I always mess that shit up. Anyway, speaking of the Giants, I don't know what the hell they're doing on Monday Night Football, but they are playing against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. George, this is just a joke. After seeing what the Giants did or did not do last week against Philly, putting up 3 points at home, I don't know how you can pick them. I'm going with the Steelers in a low blowout, like 24-10. I think the Giants accidentally score a touchdown somehow.
Yeah, the same thing. Their backfield. I mean, I know they have a couple good guys in there. I just don't think they're strong enough. Daniel Jones is always, I don't know. He just kind of is what he is.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. He tries. I'll give him any forever.
Well, you need Malik Neighbors. You couldn't even get him the ball well enough this past game either.
That's just it. I mean, Neighbors has been out for weeks, and even last week he didn't look that great, and it's just going to be hard to get him the ball. They may hyper target a few of those wide receivers, but they're not going to get anywhere unless they have some big 60, 50-yard touchdown plays that they kind of get away with. I don't think they even have a chance to be in this game. Russell aired that ball out last week. Did you guys see that pass to Pickens?
The teardrop pass?
It was the catch, but the throw
he
was
one hand too.
Woo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pickens is one of the best, like 50-50 balls out there, guys.
What
He's
a catch.
legit.
What a catch.
He's legit. No doubt. No doubt. Well, again, we're running out of time. We got a game to watch, Kenny. But before we go, George, dude, God bless you, man. You're the best. And why don't you tell everybody real quick in about 60 seconds why you have to leave and how important it is and the reason why.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I'm the athletic director at John Paul II High School in Plano, Texas. Got a volleyball game going against Roberts School. So I need to go in there, and I got to do a little bit of work. So I did take some time out to come spend some time with y'all, but asking everybody to also come check out Teague's Take, on Wednesday nights on YouTube, where we get to break down some college film, have a good time. So thank you guys for letting me come on tonight, and I got to get to work, homie.
Great having you. Good luck.
George. Thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it, brother. All right, we'll see you. All right, George Teague, freaking the man, absolutely.
That was a great episode. Hey, we had a great show today, man. That was awesome.
Fantastic. The guy's amazing. The guy's amazing. He's awesome. Right. I knew it was going to be a great show. Absolutely. So he brought it, and he's got a lot of good stories, like I said. And one thing that I didn't want to get into the T.O. thing too much, but he had told me one time that he got kicked out of the game. So he was leaving the stadium, Kenny, and at the same time he's leaving the stadium, he sees his brother leaving the stadium. He's like, well, what are you doing here? His brother's like, well, I got kicked out of the game too. He's like, why'd you get kicked out of the game? He was fighting a 49er fan in the stands. I mean, how great is that?
That's perfect.
Maybe next time we get George on, they'll tell that in more detail, but that was a lot of fun. And he was great. So really appreciate him. And it's always great to have these former players on, man.
It is. I love asking them the questions that I want to know, You know why I didn't ask him the rigged football thing? Because that's kind of my thing. Because I could tell he took football real seriously. And even if I think he would have said maybe like 10% rigged or something. I like to ask like a percentage. I don't think anybody thinks anything is 100% anything, So like, no. I was going to be like, how, but I could tell, man, he's in a zone right now with his team. And coaching, and like I didn't want to bother him with that silly shit. Yeah,
he's totally dedicated to what he does, man. He's been doing this now for I think 6 or 7 years as the AD over there at John Paul. Man, and he's, like I said, he's been doing a lot with Alabama in the offseason, with Dallas in the offseason. Busy man. So for him to take an hour out of his time was great. So really appreciate it.
I'm telling people to check out his channel. I know that they haven't, but now's your chance. Check it out. I already subbed to him, so
help him out. Is legit. It's absolutely legit. There's no doubt.
And Steve-O had a great point today that the organization should have picked up the tab on that. That's embarrassing. Like the fact that they didn't pay for that fine, that's upsetting because they should have been like, thank you.
George pointed. Jerry Jones so damn cheap, man. He really is.
And I was going to bring that up, but we were moving on. But you and I can talk about it now. Look. The Dallas could have beat us today easily. You know how? Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley. But they didn't do it.
Yeah, you ain't kidding, man.
They'd be pretty disgusting. And now in the NFC, they would be like the top 1 or 2 teams, if you ask me, one of those guys.
It would be a whole different story, adding that run dynamic, play action pass. You can the whole offense changes, no doubt. Thank you to all you guys out there. Steve-O, McNine, or Realism. Freaking love you all. Love it. Realism, I didn't know that you and George were that tight, man.
I didn't know that.
That's great. Me and Realism go back a long time, dude. We've done shows together. Freaking absolutely great. So, Kenny, awesome time. We got a football game to watch. I'm going with the Rams in the upset. You got Minnesota, which is what most people are doing, so I don't blame you. I get it. Power 32, we are here for you, and we will be back same time Thursday next week. Steve, my questions were great. he's
Yeah.
awesome. Love it. No, all your questions are great. Freaking, I really appreciate it, guys. Made the show even better. But we are out of here for now, so we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.